y'all, welcome back to this week's episode of AMA Friday with Amy Miller, Recruiting in Yoga Pants. So this week, a little bit of a twofer here. I feel like these topics are kind of connected in a weird roundabout way, so bear with me. I'll try to make it make sense. But I do think that these topics, again, are related enough that I want to tackle them both together, try to make some sense out of it. So a couple things that we're going to dig into. Number one, why do roles get reposted? Number two, why am I under consideration for so long, especially for roles that I'm watching get reposted? How unfair is that? Might be. We're going to dig in. So the goal here this week is to help y'all understand behind the scenes, inner working kind of stuff of this whole recruiting process. Always with the caveat, different companies are going to operate differently. Different organizations have their own rules. Even location plays a part, right? How we operate in Europe looks different than how we operate in Latin America versus the US versus, you name it. So there's always going to be nuances and laws and employment best practices and all kinds of things that can impact the way companies do recruiting. But I'm going to try to give you enough insight so that you can at least ask the right questions. This is forever my goal with this channel, is to give you enough information to not only understand how recruiting happens, but also to know just enough to be able to ask the right questions so that you can understand how it happens specifically at that company that you might want to work for. All right, so why do roles get reposted? The very simple, short, and technically correct answer is because they can. The funny thing about this, okay, I mean, it's really that simple. A lot of these roles are advertised through, third-party sites, LinkedIn or Indeed or whatever, and that costs money, right? Those job slots cost money for the most part, almost everywhere. Sometimes, like, the government will have a free site you could use, but don't get a lot of response there typically. So if an organization can send me a new invoice every 30 days to refresh my job posting, why wouldn't they? And as an organization, if I can have that refreshed so that it shows up earlier in a search result, as an example, because it's a new job or a fresh posting, why wouldn't I? Again, it's not nefarious. There's no evil troll sitting behind the keyboard going, oh, watch how I'm going to screw with the mental health of the job seekers this week. It's just not, no one's thinking that. And if they are thinking that, please tag them in the comments so that I can ask some questions. Okay, it's not how it works, generally speaking. So they get refreshed, they get reposted just as a matter of practice. It's just a general thing that a lot of companies just do without really thinking about it. It just happens. It's, y'all wanted AI and automation. Here you go. Here's an example of automation. Are you happy? Do you love it? Do you want recruiters to all be, sent to the unemployment line so that you can have more of it? That's what I thought. Okay, in all seriousness. There's a lot of benefits to it, though, for real. Again, it shows up fresh on search engines. You can get a fresh pool of applicants. Maybe if you've already exhausted the folks that you've gotten in the first few weeks or whatever. Which leads me to point 2. This is the one a lot of you also get upset about, understandably so. Why am I still under consideration? I'm under consideration for this role for 6 weeks. I just saw it get reposted 2 weeks ago. What is happening? Why are they doing this to me? It's a fair question. So let's talk about how that happens. Now, first of all, let me say, in a perfect world, we make an immediate go, no-go decision. I don't like the idea of people languishing in an applicant pool. I don't like it. I don't think it's fair to the applicant. I don't think it's fair to the hiring manager. I don't think it's fair to anybody. I think we need to make a yes-no decision, shit or get off the pot, right? However, I've been doing this a long time and I've done it at a lot of places. Here's what happens. We go through our applicant portal. We have a lot of immediate no's, 75% or more, typically. Those are easy. We can disposition those pretty quickly. We will hopefully get lucky. We'll find some really solid, clear, no question yeses. Move those forward pretty quickly. But there is inevitably a number of folks that we're just not quite sure. Now, I will tell you, my practice when I am the sourcing recruiter and I am responsible for the applicant pools, if you meet the basic qualifications, you are going to my hiring manager. My hiring manager can say no. They reserve the right to review through additional filters like preferred qualifications. They also can choose, if they have 10 great people, they only have time to interview 5, they can choose their top 5. I will coach them on that, to make, not because that person has red hair. No, that's not a reason to say no. But, that person has direct aerospace experience. Okay, I'll allow it, right? So we can coach them on picking the top 5, but it can mean that there's 5 people in that example that are soft yeses. Well, if these other 5 don't work out, I definitely want to talk to that one. And that can sometimes go on for days or weeks. I get it. It's not good. I understand. As a job seeker, this does not feel good. I am with you. Okay? Rip the Band-Aid off. Just tell me no. Let me get on with my life. But on the other hand, as the job seeker, so you're saying there's a chance. Like, I'm not quite ready to eliminate opportunity here if I'm actively looking, right? So that's the double-edged sword here. Like, if you are still under consideration, the good news is you're still under consideration. Unfortunately, it may mean, and no guarantees that this is what's happening, but certainly a possibility that there are other candidates they're more excited about that they're going to talk to first. The other potential thing that's happening here is they may think this person is definitely great. This person definitely fits somewhere. We may have a different role just not created yet or not fully defined yet, or we're not quite ready to pull the trigger on yet. So we don't want to lose that person because we do think that they're great, but we just need another week to, establish this new position or figure out, the new manager or whatever. There's things like that happen too. This is going to be more common in larger companies and companies that hire a lot of a similar type of talent. So think about your fungible software engineers at the Googles and the Microsofts, right? Or think about maybe your hourly workforce. Like, I know the work I'm doing right now, I'm going to hire hundreds of technicians. So, and they're all fairly similar. So it's not unreasonable for me to use multiple postings that I am constantly refreshing and reposting because I'm constantly hiring new people every month. So that's another way, or another reason, better said, why we might refresh a posting, because we're using it as like an evergreen, what we would call a pooling requisition, right? Or something that just kind of is there as our funnel, and then we put people on the appropriate job internally. So there's lots of ways that can be sliced and diced, but I think the biggest takeaway, the 2 big takeaways that I want you to have from this is, number 1, if a role is being reposted, it is most likely just an automatic flex from the organization because they are continuing to recruit for that role. And number 2, if I have not been called for an interview or immediately rejected, then there's a good chance that I'm a solid maybe for the role or maybe for the team and the company. Here's what I'm going to recommend for those of you that don't love that. Because I get it. It may not feel great. You may not want to be, second choice or what have you. And I understand that and I respect that. Withdraw your application. Totally serious. I'm totally serious. If you get to decide what your boundary is. What is the timeline you are willing to wait? Okay? If you applied to a role and it's been 3 weeks and you've had no movement, no communication, your status hasn't updated in the career portal, whatever, withdraw your application if you want. That's fine. I might be sad if I'm your recruiter and I was on vacation for 2 weeks and I'm behind. That could have happened. But you get to pick that boundary. You get to decide how long you're willing to stay under consideration. It's none of my business. That's 100% on you. And, frankly, there's nothing wrong with sending a note to the team. This is the final thing I'll leave with you, okay? This is the final thing I have. If you have been under consideration for a while and you're starting to suspect, like, okay, either no one's looked at my resume, which is also possible, or I'm trapped in purgatory, that cold, dark place known as maybe, I want to see if I can push this forward. See if you can find someone connected to the role. Recruiters are pretty darn good at talking about, hey, I'm hiring for this, hey, I'm working with that team, or whatever. If you can find someone who appears to be adjacent to the role, send a note. Hey, I applied about 4 weeks ago. Here's the email address I used to apply. I just wanted to reiterate my interest. I'm hoping, if you're not the right recruiter for this role, please feel free to pass this note along to the recruiter who is taking care of that position. I would love to be considered, and if there's more information that you need from me to make a decision, I would be happy to provide it. Thanks, me. That's it. I have actually hired people who have done exactly that. For whatever reason, maybe somebody else was responsible for checking that applicant pool. They didn't get to that person yet. Maybe they were stuck in, I've had a couple of those where a hiring manager was kind of on the fence. And it's kind of funny. Like I had one, we had literally just talked about the person that morning. Because I was pushing the manager. I'm like, I need to do something here. It's been a couple weeks. Like, I can't leave this person hanging. And they're like, well, I think I like this, but I'm not sure about that. Okay, make a decision, please. I shit you not, y'all. I got an email the same day. And I forwarded it to the hiring manager and I said, the universe is telling you to interview this person. I'm not even kidding. And we did. And they ended up getting hired, and best of my knowledge, they're still at the company. I'm not anymore, but they, I think, still are. So, those kinds of things can happen as well. So check out the networking FAQs and the networking templates on the site, recruitinginyogapants.com. If you are inclined to have that follow-up call or attempt at follow-up, please do so. But on the other hand, if you're just like, nope, not for me, that's a red flag, I don't want to work there, that's okay too. You have every right to develop the boundaries that work for you. I just want to give you a little bit of behind the scenes insight and try to give you, again, not excuses, but explanations as to why some things happen the way they do. All right, y'all. I hope that helps. 2 for this week. You're not going to get that every week. So I hope it was helpful. And as always, we will see you next week.